from the Oxford Astrologer, and I'm here with my friend Sally Kirkman from sallykirkman.com for our monthly confab about the stars and the planets and what on earth is going on, Sally. Oh my God. We've just been through the most torrid month, haven't we, already? And I'm looking forward to talking about what happens at the other, in Leo month coming up. So how have it been for you?
Well, I mean, did go on holiday for a week to Greece, my beloved Greece. It always feels like coming home when I go to Greece, which is great, I suppose, in Cancer season. So that was lovely. And my daughter's been with me a bit as well. So again, a family theme. So all that's been really nice. But yeah, just the drama of what's going on in the world that is quite extraordinary. And, also seeing that from an astrological perspective. Quite a lot happening. And what about you? Where are you?
I am. I'm in a hideaway in northern Massachusetts at the moment, because I'm in the States. I've been taking my daughter to a summer workshop, a writer's workshop, but we have had a very interesting. It's her first time in America, and we by accident, we kind of got here. 4th of July was our first full day here, and we were in Philadelphia, the birthplace of the nation, and so on America's birthday, we were in her birthplace, and we saw, where the Constitution was discussed, where the Declaration of Independence was signed. We saw Miss America in the parade, which was a surprise. And we went on a pro-choice rally briefly. We also saw someone who looked dead in the street and was being completely ignored by everybody. So we thought we'd got the full American experience already. And then we went to see the fireworks, and we got caught up in an actual active shooting and had to run for our lives. So that was within 36 hours. And it was a very intense introduction to America for my daughter, who actually kind of loved it in a way. She certainly fell in love with New York, where we went next. But the astrology is really interesting in that I thought, well, I didn't feel it was about me, but I did think, God, that's a very strange way to be introduced to a country with so much Americana, kind of in your first few hours in a place, from, Miss America to pro-choice, from a shooting to standing for the national anthem. And because my kids are half American, I'm half American, and I wanted her to know her identity. But the extraordinary thing was I hadn't really looked at her chart compared to the US chart. And of course, my child has got, her moon is the same as the American moon. So it's literally within a few minutes of the American moon. And the US Uranus, which is the planet of revolution, rebellion, awakening, and it's such an important planet for what America is this revolutionary place, is on her sun.
Yeah.
So she was awakened by all of this activity right in front of her eyes. It was incredible. And we've been recovering from that pretty much ever since.
Yeah, it's calmed down a little, hasn't it? It was quite an introduction, and I think going to be an amazing life experience for her. Actually, this is, you get these defining moments in your life, don't you, when you're growing up?
It was a defining moment for sure.
This is going to be for her. It's going to be really important, actually. So wow, just incredible. And I mean, it has. We've been talking a little bit about the sort of astrology. I mean, this Mars moving into Taurus, which it did on the 5th of July, has just been kind of wild, hasn't it? And I was looking back to when the last time it happened, you know, and actually the last time Mars moved into Taurus was January the 6th, 2021. So it was the riot, you know, the storming of the Capitol. So Mars moving into Taurus it takes no prisoners. It's kind of woof. It's full on energy. And it has been a really dramatic time around the world as well. Now, you know, a few days after Mars in Taurus, so much else going on.
Yeah, we've had two. We had goodbye Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
And Shinzo Abe, the assassination of the Japanese prime. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
That those two. I mean, Shinzo Abe is an actual world leader. I don't know what Johnson was, sort of world shambler.
World buffoon.
World buffoon. One world
Bless
buffoon
him.
is gone. And then we had that, you know, the coup in Sri Lanka, which incredible. So there's been a lot of turmoil already, you know, since and Mars is not leaving. It's not leaving Taurus for a while. It's going to be in Taurus for the rest of this season.
It is. Although I kind of feel, and again, you know, looking back in time, it's the move of Mars from Aries into Mars in Taurus. It's just, you know, it's an incredible kind of, there's a lot of violence, there's, you know, it's warlike, it's revolutionary. And maybe that's also because, you know, Uranus was in Aries and then in Taurus. So it kind of is picking up on this igniting energy of Uranus, but really dramatic events going on. So we'll see. I mean, we will be talking more about this because it's in the astrology of the month ahead, because it's really powerful.
Yeah, I mean, it's go on.
I was just going to say, and also the full moon. I mean, crikey, what a full moon! You know, the one that the full moon in Capricorn, which was the exact date was the 13th of July. Yeah, I mean, it's been really powerful full moon. I mean, a lot of people actually feeling, I think, quite, you know, experiencing crazy energy on the full moon, and very pivotal in the UK because it was the full moon in Capricorn when the new candidates for Prime Minister are being decided.
Do we know who they are? That bunch of...
Not really. I
mean, they're like a joke game show, aren't they? You know, I think they're just a ridiculous bunch of people. Sorry to be so dismissive. Maybe some of the ones I've never heard of are actually lovely.
Yes, we're not fully informed, are we?
No,
not fully informed. So you know, there might be someone good who comes out of the mess, but we'll have to wait and see. So again, that was, you know, the full moon in Capricorn, really important. Capricorn, the government sign, full moon, make decisions, you know. Yep. So pivotal for what's been going on.
Yeah, so it's moved from a new moon to a full moon, from the seed of having to do this to the full moon of the fruition is having to produce these candidates, giving birth to these candidates.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's quite a horrible image of giving birth to a giant sort of adult Liz Truss followed by adult Rishi Sunak, you know, coming out of the being born. Anyway, we shall see. So there will be another to the next new moon, what happens with the UK pantomime.
Yeah. And I think it's early September when it's decision time, or I don't know. I mean, I really don't want to go there too much, but anyway, yeah, I mean, it was really interesting that the full moon was so pivotal during such an important week, actually. But maybe we should talk about Leos, because we're wearing Leo colors, actually, aren't we? You know, me in yellow, you in orange. Look at us, lovely. You can't see us on the podcast, but if you're watching on video, you can. We're in Leo colors. So
I love Leos. I live with the Leo.
You do.
Leos are much maligned because people always think of them as show-offs and whatever, but in fact they are. You know, they have it's an incredibly powerful sign because it's ruled by the sun. They are the sun in the middle of the zodiac, and this can be overwhelming for other people. You know, they're too hot, too sunny sometimes, but they bring life. You know, they are life givers, life makers, life force.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also, for me, it's kind of, all the other planets revolve around the sun, and I often see my Leo friends, they just step into positions where they're just leaders, and the rest
Yeah,
of the group revolves around them.
yeah.
They
And it's
just have that really natural ability to take charge, to be the boss, to take center stage like the sun does every day. It's quite extraordinary, really.
and it's not being the boss in a Capricorn style way either.
No.
Because a Leo working well actually makes other people flourish
Mm. Mm.
and makes other people grow, or makes a company grow,
Yeah.
or a situation grow. When they're not, working their sun sign well, it's not quite like that. They kind of can have a kind of opposite effect.
Mm. Mm.
Interesting. Their opposite sign is Aquarius, which is ruled by Saturn, as a cool sign. But both of those signs are, once they get, they're very good in groups, both those signs,
Mm.
and they
Mm.
need to be active in groups somehow.
Yeah, I think for Aquarius, there's often a theme of being an outsider growing up. I mean, that's very common for Aquarius, but it is like, once you find your group, find your tribe, then, that's really important, that sense of being in community. I mean, also another important thing for me with Leo is the light. Leos really need to shine, because again, there's this, you often have, what's a Leo like? Oh, confident, powerful, playful, charismatic, and some Leos go, God, I'm not like that. You do,
Right.
you get kind of shy Leos as well, and you get, the quiet cat, and a Leo does need a lot of stroking and a lot of adoration, a lot of acknowledgement, a lot of compliment to really shine. So I think it's often about, when their light's dimmed, they become very sort of timid sometimes. They're kind of timid, and they need that light, either, the adulation that kind of brings them out and then helps them step into their power.
Yeah, and they need purpose.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that we can, you can encourage a Leo as much as you like, but if he hasn't, or she hasn't got a purpose, then it's very hard for them as well. They need something to be working on. Maybe not with the same, it's not like a hard working sign particularly, but they need a project, they need a purpose.
Yeah, that's true. I have to say, one of my favorite TV actresses of recent times is Elizabeth Moss.
Oh yeah.
Handmaid's Tale. I was just looking up about her because she's a Leo, and they're calling her the Queen of Peak TV, which, Leo, the royal sign. I did think that was rather fabulous. She was in The West Wing, Mad Men, Handmaid's Tale. She seems to be in these series which just become real cult and do extraordinarily well. And she's a brilliant actress.
Yes.
Did you watch Handmaid's Tale?
I did. I watched the first series, and then I thought, I can't stand being any more time in Gilead, and I'll just shoot myself.
Well, yeah, exactly the same. I watched the first one, and then the second one, it started to get really too scary for me, and like, oh gosh, no. So yeah, the first series was brilliant, but I haven't watched any others.
I read the book back in the day. I remember reading the book.
Me too. Brilliant book by Margaret Atwood. Scorpio, very Scorpio, I think. Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
Dark images.
Which is interesting, isn't it? That speaking of Elizabeth Moss as the Leo at the center of that story, the whole thing revolves around her.
Yeah.
She's the sun in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's interesting just thinking about Margaret Atwood as a fixed Scorpio. She's a fixed Leo. That somehow that clash between the sun and the darkness of the Scorpio works, and you get this interesting work of art. Of course, there are lots of other people involved, including the incredible production design.
Yeah. So yeah, she was when I was thinking about who do I know who's kind of, out there at the moment, it was her who sprang to mind, Elizabeth Moss.
So we're coming into Leo season.
We are.
And the month ahead, it's a curate's egg, isn't it? There's some very good things, like the new moon is nice on the 28th, is looking good. And then there's some quite tricky stuff with Mars, I think, and an interesting full moon coming up too. So where should we start? So we start at the beginning and start on the 22nd when the sun goes into Leo on the 22nd, I think.
It does actually. Yeah, I mean, Leo, when we're moving into Leo season in the Northern Hemisphere, it is the hottest time of year, and we're having these incredible heat wave in the UK and all, I presume all around the world. I'm not, but I mean, very aware of it here in England. I mean, it's hot. The sun is at its brightest in Leo.
And also we've got Jupiter is stationing right now. It's actually about to turn retrograde, which doesn't weaken it, it intensifies it for this period as it stations. So we've got Jupiter in Aries, which is expanding that heat. It's making it even hotter. It's a very, very fiery, hot end to July this last week. As the sun kind of goes into Leo, we have, Mars and Taurus, and we have Jupiter stationing. It's hot, hot, hot.
And Jupiter stations actually in Aries on the day of the new moon in Leo, which I actually quite like.
I like the station.
And it's making a really powerful trine aspect during this new moon as well. So it's kind of really motivated, hot, really passionate energy, isn't it?
It's really excellent for all the fire signs, I believe. Sagittarius is going to benefit from this. And I think Aries may as well, actually. It's like there's a sort of crystallization that can happen at a station. So, all of that Jupiter positivity and expansion can come together, and you can really push through with something, especially, and it's interesting that's happening at this new moon. And then the new moon is in a fire sign also, it's in Leo. So you have this, fire is about inspiration, isn't it? And initiative and enthusiasm. So it's all very enthusiastic, it seems to me. It's a very nice new moon. And combining, I mean, what do you think about that Jupiter in Aries? We've had it there since May. It's been interesting for sports, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. It's, I mean, when you talked about it on a previous podcast, when we had the Mars in Aries, the physical competitive planet, conjunct that Jupiter in Aries, you talked about records being broken. And that was the French Open when Nadal kind of, pushed ahead once again, winning French Open for 14 times. He's now got the most Grand Slams, certainly of the men, 22. So yeah, it was record breaking. And that's what you can achieve, I think, with Jupiter in Aries. It's a real pioneer, trailblazer. It's great energy because you get that sort of optimism, that belief, that willingness to sort of push back the boundaries, take a risk in Aries, which is, let's just do it. Let's do it. Let's go for it. We can make anything happen. I memean, at its best, it's kind of like anything's possible. So I kind of feel that on the new moon, the day when Jupiter turns, there's you could be feeling that energy. Again, the fire signs, I think, particularly strongly. It's a really good new moon for, taking a bit of a risk, I think, for speculation, but do it with some power and vim and vigor and, and force too, because it's in Aries. No namby-pambying. We want really exciting projects. Wow, we're brilliant.
And also, I think it's interesting. It's going to be interesting for Librans this new moon. They may well, it's good and bad. It's a curate's egg again for Librans. It may be that you've got an adversary, like in a lawsuit, who's very powerful.
Okay.
Because of the Jupiter there. But it may be that you've actually hired a lawyer or someone who's really powerful for you. Maybe a partner who's really powerful. Can work either way, either adversary or partner, and that's the trick with astrology, right?
Yeah.
And that's why it's you need to see the individual charts. It's like, is this person in a power struggle with someone, or do they have a fantastic new lover? Could be either. But it's powerful in terms of partnership for Librans, for sure. And in terms of the other, for sure, this particular new moon, and it could be to do with court cases, I think. And the other sign that, I mean, there are other signs, I mean, obviously that for Aquarians, this is also an interesting new moon. It happens in your sign of relationships. You know, you could be seeding something new. It's a fresh start. And I notice also that it makes a conjunction to Ceres, the one of the planets of motherhood, of parenting, or of abundance. And I think that's also a very good sign. So you've got these two planets that we associate with abundance, that's Jupiter and Ceres, making very nice contacts with each other.
So it's kind of, you know, there's, what are you giving birth to, I suppose, is a really good question to ask on that. Maybe, you know, I'm thinking for Aries in particular, because Leo's 5th house, children, and Taurus as well, maybe, because Leo is the family home sector for Taurus. So, you know, it could be literal, what are you giving birth to? It could be a project, or, you know, something, a creative, it could be a skill, a talent, a gift. But there's the real sense of what you're giving birth to with that.
You know, we were saying how Leo is a sign that's very much, it's the sign that has a lot of vitality, a lot of life giving. And it's interesting for people to note where, you know, where the sun is in relation to their own sun during this Leo season, because there's a lot of vitality put into that part of their life.
Yeah.
We might especially feel that around this new moon because of the Jupiter thing. So, you know, for example, you could say for Pisces, it's maybe to do with your health. You know, you may feel it's a very good time that last week of July, first week of August, for you to, you know, be getting out there and doing some kayaking, to be actually enjoying your body.
Yeah, and also work and money for Pisces, actually.
Well, I think so.
Jupiter is Pisces planet in Aries, your money sector. So it'd be a great time to kind of apply for a job, or put up your prices, or something else that brings in abundance and luck into your life, actually.
I think for Scorpios too, I mean, could be to do with career. You know, this new moon, it's actually really useful for your career, and especially in terms of abundance. And also maybe everybody else is on holiday and you're getting, you know, you're at the office or wherever it is.
Yeah.
You can get ahead, you know, or shine or be noticed if you need it.
Yeah, it's, I mean, it's, you know, being a Scorpio, Leo, I mean, Leo is the career sector for Scorpio. So it's a weird time to have the sun moving through your career sector, when a lot of people just, you know, it does go quieter. A lot of people take time off, or they go on holiday. You know, again, in the Northern Hemisphere, it's a traditional time to be away. So in a way that kind of fits with the sort of sly, more scheming side of Scorpio, who can say, oh, you know, the presenter's away, maybe I'll just sort of slip into the presenting role while they're on holiday and do it better.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I'll get the job when they get back. So yeah, it's kind of
that's the advice for Scorpios then. Just, you know, get your underhanded side going.
Where can you shine? Yeah.
At the same time, so I mean, I think that's interesting for everybody just to have a little consider about what the sun actually does in Leo for them at this time of year.
Yeah.
And maybe also look back at other Julys and Augusts. Of course, the other important thing that's happening is this conjunction between Mars and Uranus.
Yes, which happens on August the 1st, but we'll also be feeling it at the end of July, because Uranus is conjunct the North Node. That's exact on the 26th of July. But actually, for me, I think it's that August the 1st when you get the Mars-Uranus conjunction.
Yeah,
in
Yeah.
Taurus. Powerful, revolutionary, dramatic. Any other words we want to use?
Yeah, I mean,
Volatile.
explosive, volatile, hard to predict, actually.
Yeah.
But you know, if you wanted to launch a rocket, you might choose to do it on that day, or it might explode in space, you know, as it launched. But it is slightly accident prone, I would say, that Mars Uranus.
Yeah, because Mars is physicality, isn't it? And that Uranus just leaps in without thinking, really. They're both catalyst planets, aren't they? They're triggers. They're both triggers, catalyst planets.
And Mercury is kind of squaring them as well from Leo. So that there's a kind of tension around there. So I think for, you know, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, I think that it's this fixed signs. I think that that's quite a kind of crunchy moment, but it does mean it is a moment of breakthrough again. You know, so you might, I mean, the other thing that it could be is a brilliant idea, you know, or it feels quite passionate to me, you know, might really fall in love, or, you know, or really feel passion for something. Especially I would think Taurus, or if you're Scorpio, have someone who feels passionate about you, you know. There's a sense of something opening up or an awakening, because we also think of Uranus as the planet of awakening, and Mars is a match, you know, or Uranus is the planet of Prometheus, of bringing fire down from the mountain, and Mars is fire itself. So what fire is being brought down from the mountain? What, you know, and that happens at that point when those two make the conjunction, is, you know, Uranus has the fire. And I think back to that last time this happened, I think it's interesting that there was the January 6th, whatever you want to call it, riot in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, in 2021.
In 2021, which is the last time Mars was in Taurus. First, when it went straight into Taurus, that happened. And then by the time it got to this point, it was Biden's inauguration.
Yeah, on the exact day, actually.
Which, I mean, I cannot say, I think that in some ways it was maybe not Biden himself that was this spark there, but and I'm not sure if it was an awakening exactly, but there was something important that happened on that day, which was that Kamala Harris became vice president. So a woman of color became the vice president, and that was definitely a breakthrough, record set, a new and revolutionary.
Yeah, I mean, Uranus is, you know, there is this theme, isn't there? It's liberation. It's kind of new trends. It's kind of doing away with convention. It's bringing something new to the mix. There is that theme of Uranus, very much so. So exciting things can happen when Uranus is strong and powerful as well.
It's about liberation as well, liberating yourself from the shackles. Liberating yourself from the past. You know, this is a planet that faces the future. And you know, it's interesting also that I'm just thinking in the sort of more macro terms that, you know, we've had Pluto and Capricorn now for a really long time, churning up the past, digging in, doing the archaeology about the past, looking again at how our structures of government work. But Pluto is about to go into Aquarius soon, which is ruled by Uranus. It's a fixed sign, and it's ruled by Uranus, and part of it's being ruled by Uranus, Aquarius, is that it's a sign of the future. You know, it's a sign that looks to the future. And I think that one of the important things with this Mars-Uranus conjunction, and it makes a conjunction to the North Node as well, simultaneously, you know, that is very future oriented. It's we've spent enough time maybe rewriting it, because there's been a lot of over the past decades, there's been a lot of rethinking what of our history, like the history of slavery, the history of um, uh, women's history, Me Too, all of these things. We've really rethought them and come up with some new ideas about that stuff, and really thought about our cultures. And actually, at a certain point, you have to stop being shackled by the past, no matter how that works, and you need to start thinking about the future. And I feel this is one of the things about the Mars Uranus conjunction. And that works on a personal level and also a national level, which is, let's move forward.
Yeah, it is. It brings change, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It brings change. I think both for really powerful conjunction for Aquarius, with Uranus being your co-ruler, and it's in Taurus, which represents your past. So it really is, what are you going to push to break free from? Actually, what's holding you back? It's kind of turbo powered moving into the future. And also I think for Leo as well, because it's career house. So really important month probably for Leo, with all this, powerful new moon and this Mars Uranus at the top of your chart, career, vocation, future path. So again, it's kind of, what are you starting afresh? What's new that can liberate you from what's holding you back? And that can play out in many different ways, actually.
And I think for the earth signs also, Virgo and Capricorn,
Yeah.
Virgo, this is going to be about you may literally be moving countries or going to live in a different place, live in a different country, but it may also just be incredible ideas that you're having. Your brain is exploding with thoughts, and for Capricorn, again, it's incredibly creative, this conjunction.
Yeah.
Maybe on fire with creativity, whether that's actually having children, babies, or your children may be on fire.
Yeah.
But or is there maybe some new life that's coming?
I think the other thing that's important to say about it is, and I suspect that this will be a really powerful time for the money markets again, because it's this Mars Uranus, with it triggering the North Node. This picks up these eclipses that we're in as well, the Taurus Scorpio eclipses. Okay, it's not eclipse season, but there's a re-triggering of where the eclipses are falling in Taurus and Scorpio. So, really, I think it's going to be a roller coaster ride for the money markets again around this Mars Uranus. And on a personal level, it's the signs to really think about, money is Aries and Libra, because it falls in your money sectors. So what does this mean for you? Is it a time to take a risk on an investment? Is it a time to split off in some way to kind of secure your money? Or, really watch out for what's happening that's unexpected as well. Uranus is the planet that's often linked to unexpected events. So don't just sort of wing it around money. Make sure things are safe and secure. Do the Taurus thing of, okay, how are things working out financially, and bed things in a way with the Taurus energy. But it's going to be an interesting time for that as well, I think.
I think it's incredibly volatile and hard to predict. And I agree, but the whole money thing is actually crazy this year. Yeah. And then it gets triggered every now and then. And this is one of the triggers because of the eclipses and because of Uranus. But now Mars comes along and triggers it, so be careful. I wouldn't actually be taking risks. I would be cautious.
But isn't it such, this is astrology, because this combination, okay, we could say you need to be a bit careful, but at the same time, we've got one of the best planetary aspects of the year taking place, the Sun-Jupiter trine, which takes place on July 31st. And, that is a time, I think, to take risks, to take well-calculated, well-thought out risks. Or maybe it means that some people are going to win and some people are going to lose.
That's exactly what it means. Sorry, that is exactly what it means. Some people are going to win. Some people are going to lose. You risk if you can, if you can lose it, if you're happy to lose it, risk it. But if you can't afford it, don't.
Don't.
Okay. Which is classic money advice anyway,
Yeah.
but that's what this is that some people are may do well. But then it's all going to turn on its head again. This thing is switching back and forth.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's about cryptocurrency again,
Yeah.
what more can happen with that.
Yeah, that's such a
because
classic symbol of Uranus in Taurus, isn't it? The
Yeah.
cryptocurrencies, cashless society, all of that. I mean, that's been a big theme of Uranus in Taurus.
And a big theme of this year is, eclipses has been the sort of crashing around of cryptocurrency. So, but let's move on. So yeah, let's just mention that, in case you missed it, Sally just mentioned it, the Jupiter Sun trine is very nice on the 31st of July.
Yep.
So that's a lucky day in the midst of all this turmoil.
Yeah, and yeah, isn't that lovely for kind of, it happens it's at the weekend as well. So it's a really lovely combination for celebration and play and fun. And
it's good for Sagittarians. I mean, I want to sort of mention that I don't think we've even talked about this. Sagittarius, we did a bit there, the fiery stuff is good for them. And therefore, actually also probably quite good for Gemini too. You're getting some benefits here from this.
Yeah.
As far as Gemini goes, it's to do with probably to do with groups and to do with communications. What could be better for Gemini?
Yeah, and there's also another date to mention, I think, for Gemini, which is the 23rd of July. That's when Mercury moves into Leo a couple of days before the Sun. Is also trine Jupiter on that date. So again, that's another nice, it's a nice date. It's the Mercury Jupiter is great for kind of group things, studying.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of this, it's quite a good month for Gemini, really, looking at it, because a lot of the volatility is in Taurus. It's in your 12th house. So it may be internal or kind of
hidden,
but it doesn't, but actually the stuff going on the outside, your interactions with other people seem to be very positive.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we've got Mercury moving into Virgo as well, early August.
Yep.
I mean, that happens on the 4th. So Mercury back in one of its signs of rulership, where it remains throughout Leo's season as well. So, for Virgo as well, when you've got Mercury in your star sign, that's lovely. It means for Virgos, you can get your life a bit organized. And I mean, that's always, I think Virgos like to feel like, okay, we're getting things orderly. Everything's working out. I can focus on me a bit. I can look after myself. All of that is nice for Virgo. So yeah, getting things in order.
So shall we look at that full moon?
Let's.
I'm just getting up. It's the full moon on the 12th of August.
We're going to look at this one. Okay, for those if you're listening on the podcast, you just keep listening, really. But it's we do the video now and put it on YouTube for those of you who want to look at us and sit with us as we're all chatting about astrology. Yes, so we've got the full moon on August the 12th, which is actually the same day that Venus moves into Leo on August the 11th, the day before. So, this Leo season is getting kind of a lot of Mercury's in Leo until August the 4th, and Venus moves into Leo on August the 11th. So again, this sort of emphasizes the fun side of Leo, actually. But we do have quite a tricky full moon. She said. Oh, it's all ups and downs in life, isn't it? I mean, really.
Yeah. It's tricky full moon. I would, batten down the hatches. It's a tricky full moon because it makes a square to Uranus, which is a hard aspect.
And a conjunction to Saturn.
And a conjunction to Saturn. So it's like, that Saturn-Uranus square that we kind of had forgotten about for a while, which has been so troublesome. It's back, it's back.
Yeah, it is back. It was the key planetary aspect of 2021. And they've kind of parted ways a little bit in the first half of 2022. But this full moon is awakening them again. And they do kind of make a closer, much closer square aspect. It never perfects, but, you know, sort of October time before it moves away again. So the second half of the year, they're kind of back in action.
It's close enough, you know. So, and this is about possibly restrictions. Who knows? It's been, all of the lockdowns and stuff have really been associated with this particular aspect of, you know, rules versus freedom, and we're back. You know?
They're so different, aren't they, Saturn and Uranus? They could not be more opposing forces, really. I mean,
except that they both rule Aquarius, and that's
true.
For the you know, you have to look to Aquarius to figure out how to deal with this square. You know, Aquarius is the, and interestingly enough, if we look at the at this square, right, at this T square, which goes from the sun to the moon and Saturn to Uranus and the North Node, that's the T square. There's a missing leg also, or there's the South Node leg, which is Scorpio, and that can also be helpful, is to think about how the Scorpio responds to all this. And the Scorpio responds to all this with greater focus and force, really. And also Scorpio's ruling planet, Mars, is wrapped into it as well. All the fixed signs are really, you know, resonating with this particular full moon.
I mean, I kind of want to, you know, there's, when you were talking about Aquarius and having Saturn and Uranus as co-rulers, actually, I'm just thinking about, you need both Saturn and Uranus to be, you know, an incredible mind or a scientist or an inventor. It's like you've got that sort of breadth of knowledge and wisdom and expertise, but you also have this ability to take that and do something with it in the future. So, I mean, you can see how they can work together.
I think they work together in astrology. I'll be honest with you. I think that astrology is a Saturn-Uranus thing. You know, traditionally astrology is also associated with Mercury, but, you know, astrology is about systems, right? That's a Saturn thing. And it's about thinking outside the box. That's a Uranian thing. And and of not being afraid to be different. And not being afraid to be to actually disagree, I think is a good part of astrology. You know, you always worry when all astrologers agree on one thing.
And I do wonder, I notice, I mean, this is something that has just kind of popped up on my social media feed recently about this Uranus North Node, about it being a real kind of renaissance for astrology. That's one way of showing of this Uranus North Node. And apparently astrology is at the moment, because I just had someone talking to me about it this week, asking me about it, astrology is going viral on TikTok.
That doesn't surprise me.
There's a lot of people are really interested in it. And again, that's a showing of this Uranus North Node, isn't it? You know, it's here we have astrology going viral on technology.
Yes, and of course it needs the restraint of the Saturn, because is it just like the astrology of, oh, I'll just say whatever I want, which is a branch of astrology that we know well.
Agreed. That's when you need the experience and the respect and the wisdom. I mean, we're often talking about the fact that, you know, to be a good astrologer, you need years of learning astrology, you know, because you've got to gather all that wisdom and bring it with you. So I agree completely.
And life experience, which Saturn is about life experience, isn't it? That you can't substitute reading for experience. So that's, you know, why you need both of those planets for astrology, because as I said, there's the astrology of say whatever you want, which is kind of Uranian, like, I kind of channeled it, and I think this really means blue apple. And then there's the actual learning and the structure. But that can also become too rigid as well, because I find that's what's interesting on social media is the kind of, I think of them as the super rigid Saturnian astrologers. There's only this way to do it because it was written down in the 5th century. That's the way, by a guy.
Well, it's traditional, isn't it? Traditional astrology.
Traditional.
There's modern
Tradition.
astrology. I mean, it's a clash of the two, which there's always been, and there'll always be people championing the different sides, or the different disciplines.
Yeah.
I mean, so what a blooming fascinating full moon this is for Aquarius. Come on.
Yeah.
This could be a defining moment for Aquarius. You might have this sort of light bulb moment about, who you are and what you want to achieve. I mean, it could be really exciting, actually, for Aquarius, I think.
It could be exciting, and it also could be gloomy. I mean, I'll just to be a downer on this. A moon Saturn conjunction.
Yeah. Okay.
How good is that gonna? How great is that gonna be? Not so sure.
That does seem a little sad or lonely, moon Saturn. I mean, the moon's emotions, Saturn represses limits, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Or you could it could be one of those moments when you think, no one understands me. I've got these brilliant genius ideas, but no one understands me.
Exactly.
But that in the future you will be called a genius. That's my way of interpreting it.
But it's an interesting full moon, right? It's super interesting for Taurians, because you're kind of exploding all over the place, but you may find that some authority figure is preventing you from doing what you want. So there's this sense of wanting to do something but being prevented.
Yeah.
Or you may just come to the end of a job. I'm not noticing with that Taurus one, with Taurus, the Saturn at the top of the chart.
Mm.
And also it's ditto for Leo. It's an interesting, very, very interesting full moon, because it's something in your opposite sign, some emotional situation with a partner may have to, there's a reality check there. This is really what's happening. But at the same time, your career may be taking off.
Yeah. I find it's a really interesting one. It feels to me like there's, particularly maybe for the fixed signs as well, it's so powerful. There's other people involved here. So you may want to do something, but someone else is saying no, or there's other people's needs to take into account. And also with that Mars Uranus, you could find that there's another force that becomes like a catalyst or a trigger that changes the situation anyway. So, I mean, it's a lively full moon with a lot going on. And it's not a full moon where you can just make your own decisions, I think, or, because there's so many other either people involved or situations, conflicting situations that also have to be taken into account. It feels quite complicated and complex, actually. And when the situation is likely to peak as well during this full moon.
Yeah, I mean, and the person who's going to throw the party, I think it might be Capricorn throwing the party for this this full moon, possibly splashing out and then feeling that they've spent too much.
Okay. Aries or Libra, I also like for throwing a party.
Yeah. It's definitely a tricky full moon, it seems to me, and there are forces pulling in different directions. Some of which may be familiar because it's a repeat of that pattern. So Sally, this month, volatile. It's yet another kind of month full of tension, but also possibility.
Absolutely. It is, isn't it? I mean, I love that. I love the new moon and the Jupiter and that kind of complete. I mean, that to me is anything is possible vibe. But as we move into August, maybe it's just kind of running up against sort of obstacles and challenges. And it's like, can you overcome them or can't you? It's can you sort of clear the way to go amazing adventure or experience? Can you clear things out the way so you can take the potential of this new moon in Leo and the Jupiter in Aries and run with it? Because it's not going to be straightforward, that's for sure. It's not going to be a clear path ahead.
No, and I'm just thinking about flying, how this summer the flights have been already, baggage everywhere, delays. It has not been easy, and flying is something that we associate with Uranus and also with Aquarius. So it's interesting that I think there may be, I think there may be big delays around that full moon.
Yeah,
actually.
and I mean, strikes.
Again.
The rail in
Right,
this
exactly.
country, the rail are threatening to strike again. When you get this intense heat, then transport breaks down, and there's fires. I mean, there's all sorts of it. It's the external events that come in and stop you doing, the things that you want to do that give you pleasure in a way. I mean, that's we're learning to live with that a bit. And maybe this is the theme of the Saturn Uranus again. You want to go off and be wild and do your stuff, but here comes Saturn and says, actually, just hang on, this is possible, but that's not. So, and it's this constant needing to learn patience, which is Taurus, learn patience, reorient your compass, be willing to try again, don't give up either, unless you
have plan B, and don't overcomplicate your plans.
Yeah.
So, just on a really basic level for the coming month, don't have 10 changes of flight, don't have a complicated series of connections that you have to make. Keep it simple, because everything else is complicated.
No, I think that's nice. And just, it is Leo season, so have fun as much as you can, find the pleasure, find the joy, bring joy into other people's lives. She says, really.
Just as you have brought joy into mine, Sally.
Oh, a new mine, Christina.
Good. Shall we say goodbye now?
I think we should.
Are we good? Are we done?
Yeah, I think so. I hope that's been helpful to everyone. And we look forward to seeing you with pencils at the ready in Virgo season.
Yeah. See you next month.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.